In the complexity of life, we often experience the discomfort of feeling excluded and inadequate. Sometimes the world around us seems dense and complicated, and we long for an anchor of understanding in a context that seems to elude us. It is at these times that we identify with the metaphor of the ugly duckling in the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale, immersed in the search for our own space, a refuge where we can understand and accept ourselves. In the tale, the duckling is ostracized by the other animals because of his apparent diversity and ugliness. And in these cases, there seems to be nothing else to do but to run away, to hide, never to be seen again, until you meet the gaze of someone who recognizes you and helps you discover the beauty you carry inside. Everyone had made him believe that he was an ugly duckling, but instead there was a beautiful swan hiding inside. There are times in our lives, sometimes long times, when we feel pervaded by the feelings of exclusion, times when we do not feel understood, and so we decide to leave. Sometimes it is others who force us to leave because they are annoyed by our presence, almost put in danger. It is also a bit like the fairy tale of the ugly duckling, the story of the leper in this gospel passage. The others sent him back the image of a sick man, incapable of being with others. They forced him away so as not to be defiled by his disease. This man is ugly and disfigures the beauty of their horizon. See, suffering bothers us because it casts a shadow on the myth of our infinite well being. It bothers us because it reminds us that we too are sick and that sooner or later we will be called to give back our lives. It is not always clear whether we have been excluded or whether we have chosen to leave. There is always a background of ambiguity in this dynamic of rejection and isolation. When we begin to run away, we almost feel that all of life is falling apart like the body of a leper. We feel that we are slowly dying with no hope of coming back to life. That's how the leper felt. He is a hopeless person because he carries death within him. When you feel yourself dying, when you feel abandoned and rejected, you trust no one. You end up convincing yourself that you are unlovable. You think it's your fault and that no one cares about you. When you live as an outcast, when you are made to believe for a long time that you are not good as you are, you end up convincing yourself. You convince yourself that you are not lovable and that there is no way out for you. Maybe you convince yourself that even God does not want to deal with you. Unfortunately, this is what happens when you suffer abuse, violence, bullying, homophobia. The leper in this gospel passage is also a man who does not feel lovable. He doubts that Jesus can pay attention to him specifically. He does not want to bother. If you want, you can heal me. This man no longer believes that God can be present in his life. Look, only in the eyes of a person who loves us can we come alive again. Only in the eyes of someone who recognizes us can we see our beauty again. And Jesus stops and expresses his desire for good for this man. I do will it be purified. When we suffer When we enter suffering and death, we cannot expect to come out unharmed. Lepers meet in the isolated places of their hiding. They have to go there deliberately. Today's man keeps away from the places of sickness and pain that could challenge his illusions of eternity. He keeps away from the places that could revive the hopes of decay and fragility. Instead, Jesus goes to the places of sickness, where people are dying, where people are hiding out of fear or shame. Jesus is not afraid to defile himself. He touches the disease. He does not feel disgust. He is not afraid. He does not keep his distance. He comes so close to our leprosy that he too is considered a leper. Even Jesus, at his most empathetic, allowed himself to be overwhelmed by the pain of others. See, there is no more pleasant pain than to suffer for the pain of others. And Hans Christian Andersen, concluding the fairy tale The Ugly Duckling, says, he put his head under his wings, almost ashamed of so many compliments and such happiness. He who had been an ugly duckling for so long was at last happy and admired.